Wait a minute. You like wrestling?
Of course I like wrestling. That's why I hate it.
Outlaws.
Wrestling is better than the things you like.
Outlaws. You'll take those rattlesnake fangs and you'll stick them right in my ass.
What? Middle age.
Outlaws.
Maybe we should, instead of like video recording the whole thing, maybe we should just video record us bopping to the music and then just do a blank screen from for the rest of the podcast.
Yeah, the thing is, I always laugh when I hear the rattlesnake fangs bit, so that throws me off.
We need to find out where that's from. Why is he taking... Anyway, welcome, Adam. It's episode 42.
Ooh.
We're nearly hitting the big one.
Yeah.
5-0. Episode 42, we're going to talk about The Undertaker versus The Underfaker. We're in the new United Center in Chicago, Illinois. We're talking SummerSlam 1994. Your pick?
My pick. Yeah.
Happy with it?
My very instinctive, don't look at the card, just remember it's Bret and Owen in the cage and pick it. Yeah.
I think that's fine. I think you can have 42 episodes into this. I feel like a one match card is fine, as long as that one match is like Bret Owen in the cage.
Okay,
I think
that's fair.
I think you can put up with pretty, guff, as long as there's something like that on it.
Yeah, I was watching it because I watched it before you, and I was watching it thinking, oh no, and you start to feel the guilt because you've inflicted that on someone else.
You made someone else watch it for 3 hours.
But it has some moments.
It does. Let's talk about August 1994. Here's a question for you. Do you know why this SummerSlam was on a Monday?
No idea.
Really weird, eh? A Monday night. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Well, I guess it was something to do with the opening of the United Center. And did you know, Adam, that this was the only time WWF have ever been in the United Center in Chicago?
I didn't. You're dropping some impressive facts.
Obviously used by AEW these days, but they use a different one. Apparently, there's a bigger one in Chicago, which is cheaper.
Okay. Fair.
So there we go. United Center. SummerSlam, August 1994. Let's talk about it. So, Oasis released their debut album in August 1994. Definitely, maybe. It became the fastest selling album ever in the UK.
Nice.
How do you think that happened back then? Like, obviously now something becomes the fastest selling because of YouTube and social media and all that sort of stuff, and people stream music now anyway. But how do you think that happened at that time? Singles must be, eh?
I'm trying to think how, I heard about it and then bought it and then listened to it.
It's like number one in Woolworths.
I always think I had an older brother who probably did influence my music tastes a bit, but by '94, I'd like to think I was making my own choices, and but I went a bit more Blur because all my friends went Oasis, and I was a bit like that.
Yeah, contrary Mary.
Yeah, but I did love the album. It still stands up well.
It does. It definitely does. So other things that went on. There's not much went on in August 1994. But the Notorious B.I.G. wed Faith Evans, the singer.
Okay.
He can't have been here that much longer, can he? Was it 96? Both of them died.
Could have, yeah, it must have been around then, yeah.
Here's a controversial one for you, Adam. R. Kelly also got married this month to 15-year-old Aaliyah.
Oh, no. Yeah.
That's just the start of it as far as R. Kelly's rap sheet's concerned.
Yeah, things haven't improved for him or her,
Oh, dear.
I
Much
regret
like
that.
Ric Flair, she was involved in a terrible plane crash. But he's still
Yeah.
going. He's still going.
Well, yeah.
As of, what time is it? Some notable births. Oh, and deaths. More deaths. No, just a death. A notable birth. Austin Gunn, son of Daddy Ass, was born in August 1994.
Yep.
I thought his boys were twins, but apparently not. And Boris Malenko, this left me feeling worked. Boris Malenko, father of Dean, passed away in August 1994. Ah, look at your face. You've been worked too.
Yeah. Yeah, I
You've
have.
been worked by Jericho. Because they had a whole thing centered around Dean Malenko's dad dying in 1998.
Yeah.
They had a whole feud around it.
Yeah, that's thrown me a bit. Okay.
Well played, Dean. I take
What?
everything back that I said about you.
It wasn't as easy to research those things back then, I guess. So, yeah.
True. So UK #1 on the music charts. I'll give you a wee clue. It's from quite a popular film from back then, I think.
Right. I'm gonna.
A UK-based film.
Right. Okay. Okay. Is it? Wet, wet, wet? What's the song called again? I feel it in my fingers. I feel it in my toes. Love is all around.
Yes.
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 Right. That should be it. We walk away now.
I'll Make Love to You was the US #1 by Boys to Men.
Huh? Nice.
As well.
Okay.
Did you think that was maybe your prize?
Right.
Well
Yeah.
done. Well done.
Yes.
That's impressive. Let's see if you can get UK box office #1.
Oh
August
no.
94.
Right.
It's a
94.
classic.
A
I
classic.
would say it's a PG, I think.
Oh. Right. 1994. Right. Okay. Fuck. Right. You said I would say it's a PG, which has thrown me off because I was thinking around then there must have been stuff. I remember going to the cinema too young when I saw Pulp Fiction, and I thought maybe it's Pulp Fiction, but it can't be if it's a PG.
Nah. Although there is a common actor in both.
Oh
I
no.
think
Oh,
I think
no.
the guy that gets a scene to by Marcellus Wallace might be in this film.
Oh no. Ah. See, my mind immediately went to like
No,
Bruce Willis
Marcellus
and
Wallace
John
is the
Travolta.
one that gets the scene to. I think.
Marcellus Wallace, isn't he the Yeah,
Yeah.
is.
He's,
Yeah.
is
Ah,
he maybe the one that gives the seeing? Oh fuck knows. I think I've maybe butchered this. Well, I'll just tell you,
yeah, tell me.
it's The Mask.
Ah, okay. Is he in that? Okay. Long time
The
since
guy-
I've seen that.
You know the bad guy, Cameron Diaz's boyfriend.
Yeah.
I think he's in Pulp
Okay.
Fiction.
Okay.
Please check IMDb. US box office #1. Robert Downey Jr. Black and white.
Oh, was that the Chaplin movie? No,
No, am I butchering this? Is it maybe Robert?
you just forgotten who every actor is.
Natural Born Killers? Downey Jr. No?
Oh, he is. He's the reporter guy. Yeah,
Who's
he's
main
the
characters
reporter
in
guy
that?
that's kind of glorifying everything that's going on. Gets Woody Harrelson.
Yes,
And I've forgotten her name. Was in everything for a while. I've forgotten her name.
Juliette Lewis.
That's
No?
it. Yeah.
Oh, obviously.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, my apologies for making an arse of that. Just wait till we get to Mabel versus Jeff Jarrett.
Oh no.
Things will improve then. So, that's us. August 94. Well done for the UK #1.
I mean, it was probably #1 for about 9 months. So as long as I got the right year, I was probably going to get the pay-per-view.
Impressive.
Yeah.
Well done.
Okay.
So, straight into it, SummerSlam 94, and what a way. Every pay-per-view should open with the Macho Man's music from now on.
Yeah.
Is my main takeaway. This is his last ever WWF pay-per-view appearance.
Oh, was it? I got really confused because his music starts and he comes out, and I thought, are they just giving him like his music as an intro to go and join the commentary booth? Because that's kind of what I was expecting to go on. But then it seemed he was hosting the show without really doing very much.
It's like the compere at a wedding, introducing the
Yeah.
people doing the speeches. It was rubbish.
Yeah,
And I think
strange.
he speaks another couple of times, but just
Yeah.
his music popped me immediately. I loved that.
Yeah, yeah. What a
He
guy.
came out, he introduced Vince and King, had a cheeky little dig at King not being a real king. And then I think we pretty much, Vince probably mentioned the United Centre being brand new about 5,000 times. And then we go straight into our first match, which again I've got more background for you on this one. You probably know this one though. So the Head Shrinkers were the tag team champions, and this was supposed to be Bam Bam and IRS. Yeah, he knows it. He's nodding his head. This was supposed to be them for the titles, and IRS and Bam Bam were supposed to take the titles. But Shawn Michaels and the Clique decided that it was important to keep a belt on Kevin Nash. And they're going to take the Intercontinental title off him tonight on this pay-per-view. So the night before, at a house show, Shawn Michaels and Diesel beat the Head Shrinkers for the tag team titles.
Yeah. Sucked for IRS and Bam Bam.
It does.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why Bray Wyatt's so messed up in the head.
I assume this is prime Shawn being an asshole, Shawn trying to just get things his way. That's probably it. Just kind of starting early days of that, I would have thought. It's only going to get worse for a while.
The fact that Hall and Nash are facing each other and Michaels is on the side with a tag team belt says a lot, really.
Yeah.
So that's unfortunate for IRS and Bam Bam, who Bam Bam Bigelow especially, we've both got quite a lot of time for.
Yep.
Apart
absolutely.
from that final episode of Nitro where he just looked like he'd packed up and went home.
I try to forget about that one.
So we had Captain Lou Albano and Afa,
yep.
Coming out with the Head Shrinkers, Samu and Fatu. I won't try and speculate on which one's Rikishi because I'll get it wrong.
Yeah, I struggled a bit trying to, like, when I was doing my notes and watching it, just trying to differentiate between the two of them, because they're pretty similar. So yeah, there's a lot of points in my notes where I just say something like a head shrinker or something like that.
Do you know, I used to think the Head Shrinkers was a really cool name and gimmick and stuff like that, but now knowing that they were called the Samoan SWAT team, it just seems rubbish. That's a badass name for a tag team.
It is, yeah. And I remember being when I was young and first saw them, being a little bit like, they're quite intimidating. They're incredibly aggressive. I think there were periods of time when I quite liked this team, actually. Just that they're a bit different to what you would normally see on the card. But yeah.
Big guys, you can't hurt them by hitting them in the head. They did the super kicks and they were pretty mobile. They're really cool.
The crowd were on IRS from the start of this. He's never been a fan favourite. But yeah, I remember through various periods of time, it seemed that hearing his name chanted at him really upset him. He did not like
Irwin,
the slow Irwin chant.
Class. It's a funny pairing. I take it. But they were describing. Were they describing this sort of faction as the corporation?
So it was the $1 million corporation. Yeah, $1 million corporation. So, obviously led by Ted DiBiase, who I think at this point had stepped away from being in ring as a performer. So they were kind of keeping him around. I can't think who else ended up as part of that. There was definitely more than just IRS and Bam Bam.
Spoiler alert, Tanka might have been.
Oh, of course. Somehow I've blocked that from my mind as well. But yeah, I think it was just a way of keeping DiBiase on the programming, kind of keeping him relevant, and giving him I suppose he looks pretty natural as like a heel manager type role.
Yeah, he's good.
Yeah. But yeah, I think I was never that like I've seen like old stuff of Mike Rotundo in ring being just a like almost collegiate type performer. I never
Yeah,
bought the IRS thing. I don't know why. It just didn't work for me.
nah. I always thought. I remember, like, if I was to think back, and again, your memory's clouded by seeing them in WCW, like you're saying, a sort of collegiate wrestler type character.
Yeah.
IRS a jobber to me if I think
Yeah.
back, which is
Yeah.
funny.
Mhm.
I honestly don't have a huge amount of notes. I didn't mind this match. I enjoyed seeing Bam Bam looking pretty athletic and
Yeah.
mobile.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean they were kind of playing the this is the team and Bam Bam is the strong link on the other side. That kind of comes across.
Yeah.
You've got spots like where one of the head shrinkers tries to slam Bam Bam. Bam Bam collapses over onto him, and it's a 2 count. Quite a lot of double team moves from the head shrinkers, which I like. I like seeing in a team.
Always
Like
a fan of that. Yep.
there's a double kick on Bam Bam. Um, I've written, clearly being a wee bit sarcastic, that Bam Bam gets the hot tag to IRS, who the crowd are a little bit mean to in this interchange. And IRS basically just comes in and gets his ass kicked straight away by the other team. They're kind of on top until there's a spot where Bam Bam, who's outside the ring, lowers the ropes when IRS is propelled the head shrinker into them, and that head shrinker goes out to the floor. Bam Bam hits Fatu's head onto IRS's briefcase, which is sitting in their corner. And then I've got Bam Bam and Fatu each go for a clothesline, both connect and both down for a little bit.
Yeah.
Um,
That's like a car crash. That is a huge big impact between the two of them.
what I quite liked is like the head shrinkers. They're quite believable, their move set and all that's quite realistic and believable. But much as I got the impression this team, I think, is a vehicle for Bam Bam. He's to be the standout star in all this, but they didn't look, even when it was 1-on-1, totally outmatched and overwhelmed by Bam Bam. They were kind of putting up a fight. I assume they don't want to, because they've just lost the titles the night before. This match, it's one of them 2 defeats in a row, and is a wee bit like, is this team a bit weak now all of a sudden, having just been champs 2 nights ago? But it didn't. The match didn't play out like that. It didn't kind of make them look weak. It just kind of made Bam Bam look like a bit of a badass, and he's
Keep them strong. Aye.
yeah. And we're always impressed by just how quick Bam Bam moves for a guy his size. It's not something you see very often.
Do you know they showed later on in the programme as well, just talking about Bam Bam, they show a little bit of footage from the Royal Rumble that year when The Undertaker it's that match between him and Yokozuna, the casket match, when he gets about, the whole heel locker room has to come out and help him.
Yeah.
And when they put him in the casket, like Bam Bam like hops up onto the casket and he's like a cat crawling across it. They just look so fast.
Yeah.
It's funny.
Kind of freaky. It shouldn't be able to do that stuff. We got a few more spots. We've got Samu back body dropping IRS and Bam Bam, which was quite
cool.
impressive. Yeah.
Yep.
Samu with a headbutt off the turnbuckle on IRS for a 2.
That was cool as well. Top rope was very Uso-esque.
Yeah. Head shrinkers with a double headbutt and like a face plant move on IRS. Samu going for a big splash on IRS from the top, but DiBiase has the ref distracted. Bam Bam dragging Fatu out, takes him to the outside. Captain Lou, poor Captain Lou, is on the apron. Bam Bam takes him out. Afa comes in and is going after Bam Bam. At this point, Afa and the head shrinkers start triple teaming Bam Bam, kicks and headbutts all over the place. And Vince seems very confused here on commentary. I don't know why. I mean, it's quite clear that the head shrinkers have been disqualified for Rafa coming in and getting involved in the situation. But Vince can't quite seem to believe this. He keeps waiting to hear what the decision is, and it's like, yeah, they have won by disqualification. So yeah, I think it kind of made sense if they were supposed to be putting the titles on these guys tonight. Have a little bit of a fluff finish between them. I don't think you want to kill off the head shrinkers at this point by having them just taking another like clean defeat when we've just been told that they just lost the night before. But then maybe there's still a long-term plan for, well, certainly for Bam Bam, I got the impression, but for Bam Bam and IRS as well.
I think Afa looks absolutely terrifying. If he got in the ring, I would jump out the ring immediately.
Yeah.
What was Afa and
Sika?
Sika.
Yeah.
Wild Simons.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was crazy. That was an alright start, I thought.
It was fine. Yeah, I think we always both find Bam Bam entertaining. And yeah, head shrinkers are kind of fun. And I remember some stuff of them. I remember seeing them against the Steiners and thinking that was pretty cool. I can't remember what pay-per-view it was on, but I thought that was a good matchup.
Like that.
But yeah, it was probably better than I expected it to be, if I'm being honest.
Do you know what's not fun?
Yeah, I do.
Leslie Nielsen being inserted. A little it's like waiting for your favourite artist to put out an album and they've got Kevin Hart skits every second song. Why? So that we get dotted throughout this pay-per-view. We get Leslie Nielsen. Not, what was his name? Frank
Drebin. Yeah.
Not Frank Drebin. Leslie Nielsen.
Yeah.
He's playing Frank Drebin, but they call him Leslie Nielsen. And he's on the hunt for the Undertaker. And I don't know who the other gentleman is that he ropes in with him, but he's even more of a buffoon.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember if he's a sidekick in both Police Squad and in the Naked Gun films, or if it's just one of those that he's in with him. Thing is, I watched those films and I watched that show and I found it quite entertaining.
But they're funny.
I was initially confused as to why they're telling me this is Leslie Nielsen, but he's acting just like Frank Drebin. So I'm thinking, why? What is going on there? But also, just this, I don't know, it just felt shit. They're having this in. It just, maybe at the time I would have thought, oh, that's quite funny, but I don't think I did.
No.
I didn't enjoy this.
The whole Undertaker thing in itself, I would have been 12 at the time, I think I thought it was awesome. I definitely remember thinking that Royal Rumble stuff was awesome. It's incredibly horrible now, but I remember thinking it was amazing at the time. But then put this in with it as well. It's just too much. Too much silliness. Do you know what's not too much silliness though, Adam?
What's that?
Bull Nakano and Alundra Blaze.
Yeah.
For the Women's WWF Championship. Champion Alundra Blaze taking on Bull Nakano, who I believe is the first ever Japanese-born professional wrestler to challenge for a title in WWF.
Okay.
Taka Michinoku being the second one.
I was trying to think, because, women's wrestling was either not spotlighted or it just wasn't on the card for quite a long time and in a lot of matches. And I was trying to think if, this year or the year before or the year after, if there was much in the way of women's wrestling spotlighted on pay-per-views. Because there was nothing just springing to mind. Like when I think there was a match at WrestleMania 10, the women's match, but I can't tell you who it was. But I could be wrong.
Yeah, I think you're right. I can't remember either, but I think you're right. Yep.
And Alundra Blaze she must have been around and been champion for quite a long time, but maybe without doing all that many either TV shows or pay-per-views. But yeah, Bull Nakano wasn't someone I was immediately aware of. I had to think, well, have I seen this performer before? And she was paired with Luna Vachon, who's always a kind of, ball of aggressive energy outside the ring.
Yep.
So yeah, I thought I actually thought this was okay. I think I went in thinking, I'm not sure about this, but probably pleasantly surprised, I would say.
Yeah, me too. I genuinely, I said to you, I think this was my second favourite match on the card. I legit enjoyed it. It's crazy to me, and we don't know who's been on the rest of the pay-per-views for 94, 95, whatever. But it's crazy to me if after this match, how they did not build on this, and maybe the women's wrestlers aren't available, and enough. The money maybe aren't enough available to build on it. But this match was amazing, especially Bull Nakano. She was really impressive.
Yeah.
You haven't seen her before? No, is that what you were saying?
I didn't think so. Like I can't think of having seen her before. And I was when I heard the name, I thought, do I kind of recognise the name? I think I do, but I wouldn't have been able to put a face to the name or anything like that, or even a style or anything like that. Which quite a nice contrast to styles, I thought, because she was obviously very powerful. Bull Nakano, using strength to her advantage, whereas you got the impression Alundra Blaze a little more seasoned, a little more patient, wrestling skill and speed in terms of how she was going to work. So yeah, quite a nice contrast, I thought.
I've got some complimentary things written down here about Alundra Blaze, which I will not repeat.
Okay.
But I was very impressed with her shorts. Bull Nakano was pulling out. How class is it to watch a wrestling pay-per-view and see a move that you've never seen before? In 1994, she did a sharpshooter, and then instead of turning round to face her back, she kept facing the front of her, and then pulled almost in like a surfboard. She kind of pulled Alundra Blaze's head back whilst in the sharpshooter. I've never seen anything like it. It was amazing.
Yeah, I didn't know if they gave any kind of name because I didn't know what to call it in my notes. I was like, I just wrote that Bull locked in a pretty cool looking submission hold. But yeah, I just didn't know how best to describe it. I think, yeah, sharpshooter and then a variation on that. That's probably the best way.
And she did a one-arm Boston Crab as well.
Yeah.
I've never seen that before either.
No, and I was pretty impressed with the athleticism from Alundra Blaze as well. There was a Hurricane Rana in there.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like, probably really naive of me, but I just wasn't expecting to see that in a women's match in 1994. Just didn't expect it. Yeah.
She also hits some pretty awesome looking sling blade like clotheslines. She does 3 in a row.
Yeah.
Look very reminiscent of what Finn Balor does these days. I wonder if that's where
yeah.
Inspiration from. Poor Bull, though, she misses a devastating looking leg drop from the top rope, which made my spine shake when she landed because that looked pretty sore. And Alundra Blaze hit like a ridiculous German suplex. How athletic was that German suplex?
That was impressive. Like I'm watching, thinking what a shame, because I'm guessing maybe wasn't paired with an awful lot of workers she could have done that with in those days. But yeah, impressive.
I felt bad that Bull Nakano didn't actually win. I wonder if this was a one and done or...
Yeah, it made me think that, because it seemed, the way the match went and the story of the match, it seemed like you would have a natural she would win and then Blaze would chase getting the title back. But yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe it was a one and done situation.
That'd be a shame. I'd like to see her again. So yeah, Alundra Blaze retains the women's title, and she goes on to fight for it again in 1998 or something like that, probably. A 4-year reign with one match. No, I have no idea. I'm sure she's a Hall of Famer, Alundra Blaze, isn't she?
Yeah. So Alundra Blaze is what was her other name?
What?
Alundra Blaze.
Sunny. I thought she looked a wee bit like Sunny, to be fair.
Alundra Blaze was Medusa.
Was it her that put the the belt in the bin?
Yes.
Ah, well, I
Yeah.
didn't realise that's who that was.
Yeah, so she turned up on Nitro and binned the women's title because she still had it because nobody had bothered taking it off her because
That's amazing. I
nobody
didn't
cares.
realise that's who that was. So
Yeah.
that can only have been 95, 96.
Yeah, yeah. I know it gave them. It's one of the reasons given for them having a bit of fear about Bret having the belt so late in his contract before the screw job.
Love it. I did not know that. There you go. We've got your boy Todd Pettingill backstage with the new tag team champions, Shawn Michaels and Diesel. Quite like this promo. I thought Nash looked like 100% like a main eventer, proper star. Yeah, I thought it was a good promo. I did not like that Shawn Michaels appeared to be doing some sort of Andrew Dice Clay impression towards the end. I can't even remember what I said, but it's just like, what was he doing?
Yeah,
Are we in full on Soma era Shawn Michaels here?
It was a bit straight. Like, yeah, I agreed about Kevin Nash. I quite liked the fact he was basically calling out Scott Hall, knowing their actual story between them and what's coming and all that. Obviously, they worked together quite a bit, and the three within this group worked together quite a lot. And we found out that Walter Peyton was going to be in Razor Ramon's corner. So Walter Peyton being a former Chicago Bears running back, and obviously the show being in Chicago, that was just a way of adding that little bit of extra, I think, to Razor, much as he was going to be the big baby face going in here anyway.
Yep, it's old Sweetness himself. And fun fact for you, Walter Payton's son is called Jarrett.
Okay.
Named after Walter's favourite wrestler, I believe.
Yeah. Okay.
He is called Jarrett. I'm sure it's not after JEFF. Talk to me about Diesel's music. What the fuck?
Like, I assume it's supposed to sound like, I don't know, there's a big truck coming towards you, and there's some horn noises, and then it's just kind of a bit, I don't know. I worry, there was, even before he made the jump and all that, there was always something pretty cool about him, but I don't feel like that the music really fitted that.
Nah, 100%. It reminds me of Braun Strowman, and just that blah. And also that, what's that movie? I think it's maybe got Paul Walker in it, and the guy on the CB radio is calling him is he calling him Candy Cane?
Oh, I know the exact one you mean. He's like on a road trip with his brother who's just out of jail or something like that, and some girl.
Start trying to wind some poor guy up. I can't remember, but it made me think of that.
Okay.
I think he could have done with better music.
Yeah.
I wonder if did he not have sort of country-ish type music later on when he was champion?
Did he? I can't actually remember. Every time I think of him, I just think of the NWO music because that's what it's just so synonymous with him. But yeah, possibly.
And talking to people looking like stars, is we speak about Scott Hall. Probably we speak about this every time we see him, but he just he's so over. Crazy over, and he's got Walter Payton there, adds to it, but he just looks like a champion as well. He looks like a main eventer.
On the flip side, I did like his music. I always liked it.
Oh, yeah, tremendous!
Just
absolutely
worked. Yeah.
So you text me saying that you had some issues with this pay-per-view, and as I was watching this match, I wondered if this match was one of them, and I'll tell you why. I just felt it didn't feel very formulaic as far as heel gets on top, babyface makes a babyface type comeback.
Okay.
I felt like they were just seesawing back and forward with offense almost constantly, and it kind of lost me a wee bit.
Okay.
To be honest.
Yeah, so when I'd messaged you, this wasn't one of the things I had a specific issue with. We've already touched on one of them, which was Leslie Nielsen. That just really annoyed me. But I think in this, I don't know, there was something, normally when I go back and watch a match and I'm writing my notes and all that, I get a little bit caught up in a lot of the time in some of the technical, what's the move set and all that. I think I more found myself with this just watching back thinking, this is pretty cool. I don't know why. I just thought these guys, just before they're about to become, or a little bit before they're about to become two of the very biggest stars in wrestling, knowing that they're basically just mates. All these guys are getting in the same car at the end of the show, and I felt like they were just almost like they were just kind of having fun. Which I don't know. It just I wasn't like this match. I do have some notes. I don't have a huge number because I just found myself sitting back and watching, thinking, this is good fun.
I like that. I'm kind of envious of you actually, because like Michaels was doing the whole heel thing that you'd expect him to do on the outside. He was being a weasel, but in his own Michaels type of way, where he was trying to steal a lot of the camera time.
Yeah.
Whether it be flying off the apron and landing right in front of the fans, or like flying off the steps and hitting Razor with a clothesline, stuff like that. It was a wee bit too much for me, I have to be honest.
Yeah, I get that. I did think when I was watching some of this, I did wonder if you're Kevin Nash or Scott Hall, are you a bit annoyed that it feels like he's trying to steal a lot of the spotlight in this match? But I suppose they're all, close mates and all that.
Yeah.
But the other thing I wondered about that I put in my notes, if I'm Vince, and obviously he's on commentary, and I'm watching this, I would never think that guy being a bit of a weasel manager on the outside is my future world champion. I felt like he didn't come across anywhere near that level, and I don't know if it's just the role he's playing here. He very much came across as sidekick. It was odd.
Almost like an Enzo and Cass type situation.
Yeah.
Where he could look like you're saying, like the little sidekick, the little cheeky little bugger, whilst he's the massive guy that does all the damage. I can see that. It's funny. Let's not try and get inside Vince's head. Although, given that picture that we saw of him in that restaurant, you and I could possibly fit inside his head, given what he appears to have had done to
that was terrifying.
Errol, I don't know if it was Dave or Errol. I think it was Errol Hebner. He completely lost control of this match.
Yeah. I
think I'm maybe taking it a little bit too seriously in my notes here, but I am like, this is a disgrace. Hebner has lost control of this match.
Yeah, you're definitely taking it more seriously than I did when watching it. Like, I've got some notes. I do have so there's a story playing out where Michaels is trying to remove the turnbuckle pad, and it starts playing out quite early on. And Earl Hebner realizes at a point that this is happening, or this has happened, and he just I think Kevin Nash has got Scott Hall. He's ready to throw him into that uncovered turnbuckle, and Earl Hebner just stands over it, blocking it, saving Scott Hall. What a hero, Earl. I mean, he may have lost control of the match, but he saved a man's life.
Aye, that's one way of looking at it. It's poor ring IQ from Nash. If he'd put Razor into Hebner, then Michaels could have got in. He could have switched in music done. Let's be honest, Walter Peyton was doing absolutely nothing to help Razor Ramon.
Yeah,
this whole match, looking a little bit lost.
I do have in my notes that I tried to stick to writing Razor Ramon and Diesel. It was quite difficult when I was doing my notes, but I did write that he has picked the wrong sidekick. He's just leaving him out to dry. This guy is doing absolutely nothing, and all the while, Shawn Michaels is non-stop trying to interfere, get involved, remove turnbuckle pads, distract the ref, everything. And the whole time, Walter Payton's just sitting there, just standing there, just letting the world go by.
Yeah, I think it. Yeah, apparently he did it because his son was a big fan of the WWF and he wanted to do something for his son.
Fair enough.
And apparently Michaels had said to him they'd wanted to do Michaels had wanted to do a spot where Walter Peyton chased him, but he wanted him to legit chase him as fast as he could. And Peyton was just like, nah, because I'll catch you.
Yeah,
That sounds pretty much like Michaels.
I would have thought that one would be quite obvious.
Well, let's get to the finish. Shawn is inevitably involved, gets in the ring, and I guess Hebner's down at this point, or is he just preoccupied with Peyton?
Yeah, Hebner is with Peyton at that point when Michaels sees the opportunity to get himself involved and get into the ring. While I think he's just getting into the ring as Diesel's holding Razor, isn't he?
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's right.
Yeah, Michael's going for the sweet chin music, but Razor moving at the last second, and Michaels kicks Diesel. Disaster. Michaels, we've got this. Maybe this is the chase scene. Michaels and Peyton on the outside as Razor recovers and manages to get an arm across Diesel, but the ref has spent a little bit of time involved with Michaels and Peyton, but he does come back in and manages to count the pin, the 3 for the new Intercontinental Champion, Razor Ramon.
Tremendous. Now, is this the same year? I think I went and looked back, but now I can't remember. Is this the same year that they had the ladder match?
Yes, that would have been, the WrestleMania 10 was this year, yeah.
Aye, that's crazy to think. So, who won that? Razor won that?
Razor won the ladder match, yeah.
So him and Diesel, I take it, passed the IC belt back and forward?
Yeah, it looks like it, yeah. I hadn't actually, I'd looked back just to make sure that was the right WrestleMania. I hadn't looked forward to see if they kept working with each other, because it looks at this point like they're starting to just put the issues in with Diesel and Shawn Michaels, because Diesel very much sees that match as Michaels cost him the title. So I assume that's, I don't know if it's about to erupt or if they're going to drag it on quite a bit longer. I was trying to remember if they face or who. I was trying to remember what happened at WrestleMania 11, but I couldn't quite remember.
Was it like Diesel Sid?
It's Diesel Shawn.
Diesel Shawn, is it?
Yeah, Sid is with who does Sid? Nah, Sid mustn't be on that show.
Maybe that's when Sid dived off the turnbuckles and snapped his shin.
Sid is the new bodyguard for Shawn, so he's in his corner at WrestleMania 11. Yeah,
I like that.
He is the big man replacement for Diesel once this is all totally broken down.
But he would be established in the way.
Yeah. I mean, he's. I think it's one of those where it's quite obvious he's there to do this role until he turns on Michaels in all likelihood, or makes himself a main event star. Because I mean, he's got another title run in him at this point. Sid.
Aye, amazing. I love that. Do you know what? I don't actually think I've ever watched WrestleMania 11.
Really,
bottom to top.
It gets a lot.
The main event always puts me off.
It does get a lot of flack because that's the Bam Bam and Lawrence Taylor match, and it felt like that shouldn't be your main event. And I still look back and think that probably shouldn't be your main event. But I do know, and I think it's always said that Bam Bam did a hell of a job in getting the match he gets out of him. So yeah, it's by no means a classic WrestleMania though.
I'll need to watch it. Just to go back to this match, so that yet again Peyton is involved, but the crowd are mad for Diesel and Razor and Shawn.
Yeah.
And like you say, it does kind of feel like they're operating in their own wee silo, especially being quite far down the card as well. It's almost like a mid-card main event sort of thing, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Aye. Enjoyable.
Yeah, I think that they've definitely all had better matches, but I wonder if, I think I always found Michaels and Scott Hall entertaining. You know, you think back to the ladder matches and things like that. But maybe that, you know, Scott Hall, who was quite a big guy, working with a smaller guy, maybe that suited a little bit better than the two big guys. Yeah, it just probably worked a little bit better from a chemistry point of view.
So we're backstage again with your boy Todd Pettingill, and he is with Lex. He's with Lex Luger and Tatanka, and all I can think of now is that song off of that WWF Superstars album. That's like dun 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 Tatanka Buffalo dun 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 dun. Do you remember that? Eh?
Oh, I do now. It didn't spring to my mind when I was watching this, but yep.
There it is. Popped in our heads. Tatanka. I don't remember Tatanka ever cutting a promo in my life.
I mean,
Here he is.
Yeah. So, a little bit of background here seems to be that Tatanka suspects that Lex Luger has aligned himself with Ted DiBiase and his $1 million corporation. There was a poll, I think, that Todd Pettingill told us about from the fans, which didn't seem that overwhelming, but it did confirm that more believed that Luger had sold out.
Was it not like 51-49 or something like that?
It was clearly. I wonder if they just went with the genuine poll result rather than try and tell the story. The one time they reported an accurate figure, they just said that. So yeah, Tatanka, who I got the impression these guys had been close, and now it had all fallen apart. Tatanka's indicating he can't trust Lex. It's obvious Lex is sold out. Lex Luger is full of denial. He's not having it. He's angry at being accused of this. So yeah, this is the beef that's leading to the match.
Mm-hmm. Yep, it did not grab me, I'm afraid. So I was thinking back. We've watched a Tatanka Lex Luger match before, King of the Ring '93. I think it went to a draw.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And this was very reminiscent of that.
Yeah, I don't know if I even remembered that, but I do have in the top line of my notes just the words, "I have no enthusiasm for this match."
It's Luger. So at this point, I think Luger's babyface. He's been Lex Express, Lex Luger, and all that, and the fans are booing him. I think he's supposed to be a babyface. Tatanka's also supposed to be a babyface. I guess they have been teaming together, like you're saying, and we think DiBiase's coming between them. This whole "you sold out" thing is just a bit lame. You could see Tatanka's heel turn coming from like SummerSlam '92. I hated this. This was a slog to get through.
Yeah,
there's nothing, like, yes, he does some tomahawk chops and some one drop. And has Lex still got the pin in his forearm, or is that done by now?
I don't know if it was actually mentioned. I think my mind has been wandering while I've been watching the match. That's the second line of my notes is the ref's got a mullet. So I'm clearly not invested in what's going on here. They're obviously, both portrayed as power guys. Tatanka's massive. And there's, like you mentioned, there's the chops. There's Tatanka coming off the top. Luger moves. Tatanka hits the mat. Clothesline by Luger, and then DiBiase's approaching the ringside with a bag. It's like a sports bag or something like that.
Yeah, like a red and it's like supposed to be like American colours because
that'd
be Lex Luger's because he wears everything red, blue, and white.
And Luger distracted by DiBiase. I mean, we think he's in on this. Obviously, nobody is doubting this at all. Tatanka out of nowhere rolls Luger up. There was an incredibly fast count by the mullet ref. Like, I think if anyone,
he's been paid off as well.
I think if anyone has been paid off, it's the ref. Like, I've seen what's supposed to be a fast count at times. I always remember Mike Tyson in the Austin Michaels. That seemed like a really fast count, but this was even quicker.
Wow.
So yeah, Luger isn't happy with the whole situation. He kicks the hand of DiBiase and money goes flying. He goes after him, but right then this is where it all becomes clear. Tatanka hits Luger from behind.
Buffalo.
And then is it a Samoan drop Tatanka does on Luger?
Mhm.
Something like that.
It's quite cool.
And it turns out it's Tatanka who's joined the $1 Million
Can't
Corporation.
believe it. Stunned. Absolutely stunned. And as if we've not wasted enough time watching this match, they then prolong it for another good 5,
Went on ages.
8, 10 minutes as Tatanka. To be fair, like he does come across quite heelish and looks pretty vicious. He's laying it on thick. The crowd, they care.
No, they
It's
don't.
like, look at this dude. They do not care.
Yeah. If he'd been doing this to, I don't know, Bret Hart or something like that, then but they don't care. Yeah, as you say, he keeps on attacking him. He puts the $1 Million Dream on Lex Luger. Vince McMahon seems very unhappy that all this is going on. And then I think the last sort of moment of the segment is them stuffing money into Luger's mouth. All very unpleasant.
I tell you, Gorilla Monsoon was very unimpressed.
He was.
With
Yeah.
Tatanka. Was he on the hotline or something?
Yeah, it
Gorilla?
looked like it. Yeah.
Yeah, he was not impressed. So I have to admit that at this point, I was nearly falling asleep. So I'll tell you what my notes say, and then you can fill in the blanks. So we've got Jeff Jarrett versus Mabel. Mabel being Big Daddy V, Viscera, and all other Lillian Garcia bothering versions of him. Jeff Jarrett's Jeff Jarrett's playing the only gimmick that he ever played. He's not calling anyone slap nuts, but it's what you'd expect. This is like the type of match that would open a Raw, maybe, in 1994.
Yeah.
So I'm nodding off. This is my notes. I'm nodding off, so I should probably switch this off. Wait, Jarrett won. Did he roll him up? Big Mabes is raging. Those are my notes.
Okay. I'll talk through my notes. Ah, shit. This show was a bad pick. My bad. Jarrett is doing his strut. I've always said this. For me, Jarrett has go away heat. I don't want to watch when he comes on. And it's not like the heat you want is to want to see him get beaten up. I just want to change the channel. That can't be what anyone wants.
But you really enjoy his podcast, though.
Well, he's got some interesting stories because he held up Vince for money. He got basically fired on the night that Raw was on Nitro, the simulcast, all that. He does have some good stories. He walked out on the company immediately after dropping a belt to China or something. There's quite a lot of them. And he's with his dad as well. He'd had that sort of territories life as well before.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. So he was really good on that Tales from the Territories episode on Memphis, where they were talking about the feud between King and Andy Kaufman.
Yes, I have seen that one. Yeah.
Have you? Him and Jerry Jarrett, they're good storytellers.
Yeah, that's actually the only one I've watched so far, but it was good. I enjoyed that. Great. Yeah.
So anyway, go away heat.
Yeah. I just hate seeing him on screen. So Mabel power and does his own strat. Jarrett showing some agility and athleticism, but I just don't care. Mabel hitting elbows and clotheslines. Jarrett catches Mabel while he's taking 45 minutes to climb the ropes. I've got Jarrett locking in a sleeper, but Mabel squashing him in the corner. Jarrett keeps applying the sleeper over and over again. And then a spinning heel kick by Mabel, which
I remember seeing that. Who's the wee guy that was with Mabel? Was that his tag team partner guy?
Nah, this was their manager guy. He was called Oscar. So it was.
What was his tag team partner?
Mo. Mo and Mabel.
Men on a mission.
Yeah. I'll just get to the finish. Jarrett goes out to attack Oscar. Mabel comes out, holds Jarrett for Oscar to slap. Mabel going for a splash from the second rope, but Jarrett moves. Mabel hits the mat. Jarrett tries to roll up Mabel. He then tries to sit on Jarrett. Thank God Jarrett moved, but he gets the pin win just from, I don't know, Mabel sitting down.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you know Jarrett was involved in putting the Undertaker in that casket at the Royal Rumble?
Oh, was he? He
It
would have
doesn't
been
seem
one
like
of
the sort of
heels.
thing he'd be involved with.
Because it's just
Anyway.
like every heel went out.
Must have been. Aye. Strange match to have on the card. I want to say that Mabel by the next year would be King of the Ring. Is that right? Is that
So
right?
the next one he wins, yeah, that's probably right. Yeah.
Crazy.
Oh, God.
Vince's love affair with giant men continues.
I mean, he just didn't look well. That's not a big guy that's intimidating. That's even I, with my gut and my knees, could run away from him. You know, yeah, that's too much.
So, I've got a proposal for you.
Okay.
We could go ahead and discuss the next match.
Okay.
Which I think you and I might go full on love affair for.
Okay.
Or we could discuss Undertaker under Faker, which was the main event, and then treat Bret and Owen as the main event.
Do it the way it should be done. Yeah.
Aye.
Okay, I'm fine with that. Let's do it.
Okay, so let's talk Undertaker under Faker. I was just watching a shoot interview at X-Pac where he was slightly inebriated from years back, and he said that this match sucked because Bret and Owen decided to take as long as they wanted, and these two were supposed to get much longer. And I just want to say thank you so much to Bret Hart for taking all that time, because this was 8 minutes too long, and it was 8 minutes long.
This was terrible. Like, see in the build, because I very quickly got my head round. Right, we've had I think it was Royal Rumble match where Yoko kills the Undertaker, and you know,
I will not rest in peace.
Yeah, like some weird electricity shit, and he's up on the screen, but you know, and then and then all of a sudden in the build, we're speaking to some random people, like a bagel shop guy and a fireman, saying that they've seen the Undertaker. I have no idea what that. I mean, have it as a setup. They must have just been going to real people and getting them to speak, because they didn't seem to really know what they were doing.
That's odd.
Ted DiBiase saying that with all his connections and his cash, he is bringing Undertaker back. Now, Ted DiBiase was involved in the storyline of Undertaker arriving in WWE at that Survivor Series and all that. So I suppose that's logical, at least.
Aye.
Yeah.
I like that aspect of it. Like, it makes sense to have DiBiase involved.
Yeah. Paul Bearer's calling DiBiase a liar. He's saying that, you know, if Undertaker was coming back, it would be with him, all that kind of thing. We get DiBiase and Bearer each trying to like lure this Undertaker character to them, like, you know, people trying to get the dog to go to them instead of their partner. He goes for the money. He goes to Ted DiBiase, which makes, you know, Paul Bearer assume, I don't think it's too wild an assumption, that is not the real Undertaker. We've got...
So I want to poke a wee hole in here. So I wouldn't have minded this if it had been a proper ruse by DiBiase and it was literally a guy dressed up pretending to be the Undertaker.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that would have worked a lot better than
but he was like going towards the urn, and then DiBiase would lift a bag of cash, and it's like he would go towards that like he's got magical powers.
Yeah.
like the idea of it just DiBiase coming up, you know, finding this big guy and going, I've actually got the Undertaker, and it just being a sort of ruse type thing.
Yeah, I mean, you'd said you were 12 when the whole thing happened at the Royal Rumble, and all that, and you enjoyed that. Do you remember this as a kid? Because I don't at all. I don't know if I've just blocked it out.
No, I definitely don't remember this at all, and I don't remember watching this match or anything like that.
Yeah, there's a few more bits in the build. DiBiase getting Undertaker or Underfaker, as may be the case, to choke Paul Bearer. Lights go down. When they come back up, Paul Bearer is free and claiming his Undertaker is here. And then I think very recent to the show we're about to watch, Undertaker speaks and tells Ted DiBiase to bring his demon and face the Undertaker.
That's a good line.
Yeah. Again, would have worked better if it wasn't just, I don't know, Underfaker in the end.
So Brian Lee that plays the fake Undertaker I think he does a good job of acting like him, as far as in ring.
Uh-huh.
I think he generally looks like him. The hair down the face obviously helps. He's got the tattoos on the arms. I like the differential between the purple tie and tie and gloves that the real Undertaker wears versus the grey.
Yeah, that worked. Yeah,
But just the match, and it's not because it's a big man match, because there's plenty of matches we've watched where it's been two big men and they've been good matches. It's just not a good match.
No,
at all.
No.
I think I read Brian Lee was maybe on. They kind of got him on loan from Smoky Mountain.
Okay.
To do this angle, and he was buddies with Undertaker in real life.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, if you're going to do this, I think until they come face to face, he looks like he's a similar size. I think he's got that look. He did do the mannerisms pretty well, to be fair. But yeah, I didn't have any interest in the story. Yeah, and I think you messaged me about this. The entrances.
Oh my god!
They just went on and on and on.
Yeah, so you got the entrance for Fake. You then got an entrance for Paul Bearer, who, just out of nowhere, the urn has started shining with a gigantic light coming out of it. And then we got another entrance for the real Undertaker. Oh my god, it's too much.
I mean, even seeing adulthood, when I look back and watch some of the Undertaker stuff, and it does seem a bit much and all that, but I can suspend disbelief for certain things, right? So I can be like, hey, maybe that urn just means a lot to the guy. He's taken some inspiration from it, whatever. I'm not needing to see some weird, bright, shining light coming from it. That's yeah.
You do that, and then what happens next time? It's just a normal urn again. I mean, we're over-analysing here. Do you know what? I can't remember if I read it or if it was Brian Zane on Wrestling with Regret had said it, but I read or heard somewhere that the original finish to the match was going to be that there was loads of smoke and some sort of pyrotechnic type thing, and when it all cleared, there was just going to be one Undertaker left in the ring, and they were going to have merged bodies.
Amazing. Yeah.
I mean, I wonder if they thought, nah, that's too much. that's too much. Surely no.
I've actually, at a point, and I think it's just after all the nonsense, Undertaker just appears at the entrance. He's just going to walk down just like a guy. And I'm like, what a palaver. I've written palaver in my notes.
Nice.
Took far too long. And then, you've got Paul Bearer doing his usual routine of taking the coat off, the hat off, and all that for Undertaker. And DiBiase's kind of doing the same thing on the other side of the ring. And I quite like that. And then they're effectively kind of mirroring each other. And they face off. Undertaker does look a bit taller when they come face to face. And then, it just, I don't know. I don't know how long this actual match is. The entrances definitely took up about 15 minutes.
The match is genuinely 8 minutes long, and I was surprised it went that long.
I don't have a huge amount here. I've got some notes, but not loads.
0 notes.
So, okay, I'll talk through what I've got. Taker with a big boot and a punch to send Faker out of the ring. Faker stalking Paul Bearer. Taker grabs him onto the apron, suplexes him into the ring. Faker does the setup. I'm tired of this now. How the fuck is this on after a Bret and Owens cage match for the title? Faker goes to the top as if he's going to do old school but can't execute it. Taker throws him off. Undertaker does the move successfully. What else have I got? Oh, Faker hits the tombstone. Takes a very long time to cover him. Taker sits up. Faker goes for another tombstone. Undertaker kind of does that thing where the balance shifts and he ends up landing on his feet, and he then has the opponent in the tombstone position. Undertaker then does his own tombstone. He really jumped into it. Like, he jumped and then landed on the knees, and then delivers another tombstone, then another, and that's the pin win. 3 tombstones.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose it was, it certainly ended up being a one and done in terms of matches, but it was a pretty decisive exclamation mark put on the end of it. Undertaker puts the Underfaker in the casket that the urn had been brought down on. The fellas with the hoods wheel him away.
Yeah, do you know, I tried to find out who the Druids were, but I couldn't find out who they were.
Okay. And then Randy Savage, who has been the host, it's great to see him again, but he unfortunately sends us back to Leslie Nielsen and the other guy again, who are still on the Undertaker hunt. They go to the casket that Faker was rolled back in. They open it up, and it was empty. And then there was some really bad joke about the case being closed.
Briefcase sitting that's closed. That means the case is closed. Yeah, I wonder if they plan to do more with him. In that shoot interview, X-Pac seemed to suggest that Brian Lee quite enjoyed to get inebriated with the rest of them, and they think that that's maybe as far as continuing.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay, so let's go to the main event. We can
finish on a high.
Yes, let's take our time and talk all the way through this amazing storyline that they put together for Owen v Bret.
Yes.
Now we've talked WrestleMania 10 before. I think maybe in our best or top 5 manias of the 90s.
Yeah, I think that's probably. Right. Yeah.
And we would have talked all about the whole storyline, where it starts from Survivor Series 93. I want to say.
Yes.
Where you had the Hart family against Shawn Michaels and like Knight people.
Yeah.
In a Survivor Series match, Owen's the only Hart family member that gets eliminated. He blames Bret, starts talking about being in the shadow and all that sort of stuff, and Bret's just not having any of it at all. I don't want to fight Owen. How does he say Owen? He says it Owen.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to fight him. He wants to reconcile with him. But Owen's really, I think you mentioned to me separately, like Owen's really good at this little brother. I'm so brilliant. Sick of you. He plays it perfectly.
Yeah, he's brilliant. Like this, I don't think it'd be a massive exaggeration to say that this is it's definitely it's maybe my favourite storyline like that there has been in wrestling, because it's so simple. It's this jealous younger brother who is so believable at his jealousy and his vindictiveness, his spitefulness, his rage just brought on by the success of his brother, but who legitimately beat him. So they had the match on the night that Owen won that Bret won the title. They had the match earlier, and Owen beat him. And then he still can't get his satisfaction because Bret wins the belt later in the night, which just sets you up perfectly for this storyline to kind of move on to the next level. And I believe they do like a reconciliation
over Christmas time.
Yeah, and they're brought together by family and they reconcile. But then there's I think it's for the tag titles. they have a match against the Quebecers. Is that the
Yep.
Rumble?
Yep.
Yeah. And Bret gets injured in that match. He's selling a knee injury.
I
And
think they have to stop the match because of it.
yeah, and Owen is furious with Bret for denying him his tag title. Basically, he sees that as all Bret's fault. So we're right. It only took just that little thing, and that's it in full flow. That is just Owen absolutely despising Bret.
Does he say I kicked your leg off your leg or something like that? It says,
I kicked your leg off your leg.
But he does another good promo where it's like, just like you said, it's just, I'm so sick of you, hateful, spiteful. And for there, Bret says, you know, like he wants a match. He's got the match. He can have it if he thinks he's better than me and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But Bret wins the Rumble on one leg. Imagine how annoying that must have been for Owen. Like, I think we've talked before, like where a heel's the best heel, where he believes, he believes what he thinks, or you get the impression that he believes what he thinks, and the way that this all plays out, like he can 100%, to the point where I would have thought that Owen does feel that actual way.
Yeah, that's such a key thing. He believes he's right. It doesn't matter how, you know, the way he's acting, the way he's behaving. He believes he is fully justified to be doing all of this and saying all of this, which just adds that layer, which just makes this so perfect. And we know that in the past, Bret had won King of the Ring. Owen
93.
Owen goes on to win King of the Ring with a little bit of help from the Anvil, who had who had seemingly intentionally cost Bret a match earlier in the night.
For a title?
Yeah.
Was it a title match with Nash? With Diesel, sorry.
Yeah. So, yeah, and then with Owen then going on to win King of the Ring, you've got Anvil sort of officially aligned with Owen. I love this, that Owen, after he's won, proclaiming himself the King of Hearts and all that. I mean, the only downside of all this was I kept seeing Bruce Hart, which I could just do without. But apart from that, awesome.
Yeah, I've got notes about Bruce Hart. I feel like this storyline legitimizes Neidhart as a really good heavy, as like, and I think the fact that he's part of the family as well brings a different aspect to it, because it's not all like, oh, Bret's the good one and owns the black sheep, because you've got somebody else there that stands with him and believes in what he believes in as well, which I love.
Yeah, love that too. And then the fact that they've got, like, I don't know how many we see. We definitely see Stu and Helen. We definitely see Davy Boy and his wife ringside, all waiting for this match to start. I think, do some of them get spoken to, or do some of them?
Aye.
Yeah.
So I think they have to fill quite a lot of time to get there, because the cage is being built.
Yeah.
So Vince and King are stood next to a huge clan of the Hearts.
Yeah.
They speak to Bruce. They speak to Stu and Helen. Stu doesn't look like he knows what's going on. Helen potentially looks like she's on the way out. And Neidhart's in the back there with a really dark sunglasses on, but you know he's not playing the sort of crazy laughing guy. He's playing the I fucking hate Bret Hart guy.
Yeah. And it's one of them where, when I was thinking this through in my mind, and I don't think this is a layer of the story that I'd thought about when I was young. Like, if there is going to be a secondary person that's going to hold any resentment towards Bret, well, Bret and Anvil were a tag team. They were tag team champs. Bret then went on to have singles success. Anvil didn't. So in my mind, when I'm looking at it and thinking, well, of course he's the most likely one to take Owen's side in this, because he's probably felt a bit of this himself, just resentment, jealousy, whatever. So I like the fact I could find logic in all of that. It made sense. And it's that thing of tapping into, you know, usually not in this situation or to this extent, but a bit of sibling rivalry. You know, it exists. It's a real thing. And so many people who are watching this have experienced it on one side or the other. You know, it's, great. Love this.
The whole build's amazing, like you say. I would put up there with the Macho Man Hulk, year-long storyline.
Yeah.
And we might get into how you and I were doing a bit of fantasy booking as to how it played out and how we would have liked to seen it continue. But we go backstage after Vince and King have been speaking at the Hart family, and Bret cuts an absolute class promo. We spoke about his promos before. I love that he says, "I don't hate you, Owen, but I love this title." He's patting the title, and I'll show you why I'm the champion. Jim Neidhart, "I do hate you, and you stay away." And I guess that's why they're in the steel cage to begin with, because he's kept getting involved in various things.
Yeah.
I love that he was talking about a cage match being barbaric. It's got to be a dog fight. It's got to be ugly. He's using all these words that immediately puts you in the headspace of this is going to be like, this isn't going to be the technical masterclass that you might have got at WrestleMania 10. This is going to be ugly, like he said. I thought this was like a 10-star promo. I thought it was amazing.
Yeah, I think it's something we've talked about before, is that there's always been like this almost asterisk next to Bret Hart's name, is that he wasn't a very good promo. But having gone back and watched a lot of it, I think he was a lot better than he was given credit for.
100%. I was listening to Cornette earlier. I bet you wish I had a tenner for every time I said that to you. And he was being asked to compare the two and who he thought was better. And he said he thought Owen was a better promo.
Okay.
I was quite surprised. But then he worked with Owen,
a little bit surprised. I think when they're opposing each other, I think it works well. Very well, actually.
Aye, agreed. So then we're ready. We get Owen's absolutely amazing banger theme. Is it the best? Is it the best? That's a top 5.
It's definitely up there. Yeah, definitely up there.
Does Bret come out first? No, Owen comes out first.
Bret's
champion. Yeah. I want to say puts the shades on Helen.
Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah.
Oh no, he puts on it. He doesn't. He puts it on a wee boy, and I think they say that it's like a nephew or another member. I thought maybe it's another time he puts on Helen.
Yeah, I had a memory of that as soon as you said it. But yeah, okay, must be another time.
And as soon as Owen gets in the cage, he attacks him, and I was like, yes. There's no feeling out process. Aye, 100%.
Yeah, that's exactly what had to happen. Perfectly done. Yeah.
So at this point in time, I understand that Vince was under a lot of pressure from the networks about the violence, the levels of violence that had been on TV.
Okay.
And he told them no blood, no, try and tame it down. So that's why they had this match that was so focused on escaping. So essentially, like we've heard this before with Bret, he takes it as a challenge. He'd taken it as a challenge to put together a match that focused on that and didn't focus on so much on the violence.
It's interesting because I've definitely got a point in my notes where I write something like, this feels like it could have risked getting really repetitive, but it doesn't. And I don't know why it doesn't, because like you touch on there, the story is about both of them trying to escape, and it quite quickly becomes that story. And the amount of times that they're up and they're almost over, or one of them's part over and things like that, and they get brought back in. If somebody told, like if I read a script of that match, I'd probably have the highlighter pen out and be like, that's repetitive. You're doing that again and again and again, you know. But I don't know why it works, but it does.
Aye, no, it does. I think quite quickly you get to the point where you feel that they're both desperate to win. Yeah. Because it does start off with Owen attacking him, and you immediately think, oh, this is going to be the dog fight. Yeah. He said. And it is, because there's just a lot of punch kick sort of stuff. But it makes sense because of what they've all just laid out. Yeah. And then I've got here a lot of attempted escapes, early doors. I would actually prefer to see them just beating the shit out of each other, but knowing that information now, it makes sense as to why it's happened. They must tease the superplex. Yeah, I obviously remembered the match because I remember the superplex, but I just remember thinking, "Oh, they're doing it now. Oh, they're going to do it now. They're going to do it now." But quite a lot of different inventive ways they find to get down off the top of the cage.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think when I talk about it at risk of being repetitive, I think that's why it saves it, because it doesn't feel like they do the exact same spot twice. There's so many slight variations in what they're doing every time. And I can like, it must be such a, see when Vince hits you with something like that, like I want the violence toned down, no blood, that kind of, I suppose it's like it was Shawn and Razor 2 with their ladder match where they're told, like, not long before it, you can't use it as a weapon, and they're like, what? It's a ladder.
It's a ladder match.
We have to totally come up with a different kind of match, but they'd already had the classic where they could use it as a weapon, so that's fine. But yeah, I imagine it maybe focuses your thinking if you're the performers putting it together, because you think, right, well, we can't do that, let's focus on this. This is the story. Let's do it.
Aye, even like this, the escape from the door can be a little hokey generally. I think it lets down cage matches sometimes, where you see that sort of over exaggerated dive for the door and the climbing towards the door. This felt like they were clawing over each other to get out, and they were kicking each other in the face desperately to get away from each other.
Yeah,
all of it felt real,
I
believable.
think we've talked a few times about when there's a good reaction to somebody trying to put a submission move on, it's one of panic and how do I get out of this as quickly as possible. And I can relate.
We'll talk about that.
Yeah, and I can relate that to this, because as soon as they see the door open and the other person edging closer and closer, it is like this frantic, I've got to stop them. I just
instinct.
Whatever else happens, I have to just get across and stop them. There was only once that I wondered, and when I thought about it, I don't think it was hokey, but there's once where Owen's quite far away and he leaps, and it's a really, really far leap. But I was thinking, just let them away with that. He's noticed he's near the door and he's just got there as quick as he possibly could, so that's fine.
And I don't think how long this match goes. It must go a fair while. It's really slow.
I did look it up. Yeah, I think it's just over half an hour.
Is it really?
Yeah.
It is really slow, but not in a way where I was like, so what's going to happen next, sort of thing. I feel like they're believably selling some of the things that they're doing as far as coming off the cage. There's a point where Bret was trying to climb out and Owen grabs him by his foot and just essentially like pulls his leg away and he falls right off the top of the cage.
Yeah.
And he lands straddling the ropes.
Yeah, which looked good, pretty nasty. They build in a few other things. Like there's a point where Bret, he's almost out and Owen just won't let go. He just won't let go of him. And Bret, it's like he snaps just for a couple of, like 30 seconds, and he's mounting Owen and he's just unleashing this flurry of punches on him. And it is like the frustration of not being able to just get out and win is just boiled over for just briefly. And I like things like that because it just feels like a real reaction.
And there's a couple of times where Bret is over and Owen kind of Bret's head's over the other side, and Owen just dives and grabs his head and sort of pulls it against the cage. Yeah. And again, it looks desperate. It looks real. It looks like the sort of thing you would do if you were trying to get somebody to stop climbing out of there.
Yeah.
There's some nice wee bits and pieces like Owen. Owen has a lovely looking pile driver at one point. What do you call the back kick type thing? Like I feel like every single, even little things that they were doing, I feel like everything that these two do, especially together, just looks really, really good.
Yeah. Yep.
We get every now and again, we're obviously going back and forward to the Hearts on the outside. We see Bruce, there's a great bit. What have I got here about Neidhart? I think it's that Bret, where is it? Bret's trying to get out, and there it is. Sorry, Bret's trying to get out. He's almost out, and Owen gets him back in, and it just cuts to Neidhart, and he's like, like chuckling away to himself, like he's dead happy with it. And Bruce is like standing up, looking at him like he's got to do something about it.
Amazing.
I like that. There's a nice wee back suplex by Owen off. I think they're both standing on the second rope. I think something about this is that the cage is a lot smaller. It's not as tall as the cages that they probably use now, and that helped as far as doing some of these moves off the ropes and stuff like that, I felt.
Because they could basically be feet on the ropes and quite, I think, comfortably being able to hold the top of the cage, and balance themselves, I think, in most things that they're doing. I thought it looked a bit smaller. I always feel like it's a little bit of a novelty when I watch cage matches, and it's the blue
cage.
And they used to be a far rarer thing than they are these days. But I like the fact that they were, it's safe to say they were using it. They were up on it a hell of a lot of the time. But as we've talked about, I'm used to cage match. Two guys are up on it. One guy will smack the other guy off it and he'll drop, and it's all pretty basic. I felt like they were trying to keep the psychology of the match. They were trying to keep the sort of risk of this opponent being able to take out a body part and things like that. There's a sharpshooter locked in by Owen, and Bret ends up locking in a sharpshooter. But while I'm watching that, thinking, they're mentioning in commentary briefly, you can't win the match via sharpshooter. You can't make your opponent submit. It's first to escape the cage, but they're both proficient in using this move that takes their opponent's legs away. So of course it makes sense to use it.
I like that, and the commentary team did a good job of selling why he was doing it as well.
They did, and I'm probably more used to that kind of thing in JR than I would be with Vince and King, but they got the job done in terms of explaining the why. But much as there's the aggression, there's the frustration, there's the desperate attempts to try and escape, and the even more desperate attempts to try and stop the other person. And you've been told so often that these guys are like these ring technicians. So every now and then there's these moves, and it's just nicely sort of placed that kind of thing's going on. It just keeps the match moving and flowing, even though, like you mentioned, it's a lot of it's quite a slow pace. But I think that those moments just spread out, just help it work.
Aye, that's true. I think it's a lot earlier. Owen hits an unbelievable missile drop kick off top rope. That I don't remember ever really seeing him do. I know he used to do the whole, when he was younger and he was the Rocket, and he used to do a lot of stuff off top rope, but the missile drop kick landing on his back looked really cool. I guess that's where Daniel Bryan takes that from, because that's exactly the same.
I assume so.
Drop kick that he does. Should we jump into the finish?
Yeah, let's go. Yeah,
I feel like the finish, you're saying it goes half an hour there, and it is slow, but I feel like the finish sort of comes out of nowhere, probably because they've teased climbing over each other and getting out and all that so many times. Actually, I've got here, they've teased the superplex so many times, and right as I wrote that, they did it. And it just sounded brutal. It sounded class. But yeah, they both start climbing up the cage, the sort of far side, the entrance side of the cage. And I remember feeling surprised that they'd both gotten over, and they're both on the other side of the cage. And Owen, what would they call this? The tree of woe type sort of thing? Is that what they call that when they? He gets the leg caught and he's kind of hanging upside down.
Yeah, it was interesting because when they were getting there, I think I was the same. It's maybe the first. It's definitely the first time they're both over. So we've had one over many times, but they're both over, and there's this feeling as they're going up and they're starting to go over of, is it just like a race now? Is this just like we've done what we can. We just need to get out,
Just
right?
get
So
out. Aye.
I'll race you out. But I think what happens is does Brett hit Owen off the cage, and as he falls, his legs caught, so
His
he's
legs get
kind of
caught, he's
left.
hanging upside down.
Yeah, yeah.
Aye, and Brett
Which,
jumps
yeah,
off.
yeah.
And I expected, when they were both on the side there, that's when I expected Neidhart to get involved. I knew Brett won, but I wonder if he maybe, botched and tried to hit Owen, tried to hit Brett and hit Owen or something like that.
Okay.
Or if Brett jumped off to try and hit him and won that way or something like that. But I quite like the fact that nobody got involved and they saw out the match, just the two of them all together. Let's talk through what happened. So Brett jumps off, Brett wins. Owen's left hanging there. Almost immediately, you see Neidhart start to make his move. He jumps the rails and he's straight over and starts. I've got that he fucking whammos Bulldog and Diana Hart.
Yeah, even Diana she takes a tumble over the barrier.
Yeah, so she wasn't supposed to. So it was just supposed to be Bulldog. And then Bulldog and Diana came up with this on their own. So he put his arm around her and they decided that they were both going to go over together. And Owen and Brett were legit annoyed with Bulldog for potentially putting their sister in harm's way. So they go, she takes a bad bump, like you say. She bangs her head off the rails and she's like top of her head first on the ground. Classic Hart family behaviour, eh? Nobody else's family would do that.
I wrote in my notes, Mouthy Bruce clearly doesn't give a fuck. It takes him ages to react to all this going on with Anvil.
What a little shit, eh? So Owen and Neidhart get Brett into the ring, and then when Neidhart put his hand in his trousers, I was like, where's this going? He produces a padlock and chain from his trousers and locks himself and Owen in with Brett, and they just start beating him. I love the whole image of various different Hart family members scrambling up the side of the cage and Neidhart and Owen knocking them off.
Yeah, that was good.
It's brilliant. So eventually, so they're just beating Brett down. Eventually, some Harts and Davey Boy get into the ring, and the two heels over in the corner and scamper out. I even like that, like Neidhart almost gets caught. Bulldog's got his leg, but Owen on the other side as he's climbing out boots Bulldog.
Yep.
It just all seems quite realistic.
Yeah, that was good.
And they get out of town, and the Harts are in the cage helping the champion back up.
Yep.
So amazing match.
We got just at the very end, Todd Pettingill, our pal, chasing Owen and Anvil looking for answers.
That's right, backstage.
Owen screams that the family have turned their backs on him, and he says to Anvil, "Let's go and celebrate my victory." Owen, amazing.
Class. Yeah, so they were told, so Owen and Brett were told this would be the last match that they would have together, and they were told that this cage match was a blow-off.
Okay.
So why continue it like this?
I didn't know that, and that doesn't make sense for the finish. You know, your finish should be decisive. It should be whoever you want to go over, going over, and that's it. You know, whereas it feels like there is now something for Brett to have to answer again, which just doesn't really make a lot of sense to me.
And like, you've continued the family thing. You've got more people involved in it. Davey Boy, I want to say this is Davey Boy's. I think he just returned from WCW. Right. I think this might be the first time we've seen him on telly in a while, and that's why he's going for this sort of sort of urban poet look that he's going for, with the glasses and the frilly hair and the
Okay.
Crocodile Dundee waistcoat.
Yeah.
It's just an odd thing to have done, and particularly when you look forward and Bret goes into a program with Bob Backlund.
Mhm.
He ends up losing the belt, and then they put the belt on Diesel like 3 days after. Backlund
Yeah.
beats Bret. They have a whole thing where Owens in Backlund's corner and Neidhart's in Bret's corner, maybe.
Okay.
I don't know how that works. And Owen convinces Helen to throw in a towel. That's how he ends up. So they're kind of half-arsed continuing it.
Mhm.
It
Yeah.
just seems like a
yeah,
really,
that's right.
really good missed opportunity.
Yeah.
Like, I'd love to have seen it play out to WrestleMania and see them have more matches, more gimmick matches, and just more general
Yeah,
wrestling matches.
absolutely. I mean, I do tend to like, your big match, your gimmick match to be a blow off, but I don't think that it needed to be here. I thought they were clever in the way they used the cage. I think they could have, and we talked about this. You mentioned this to me as well. I think they could have had Owen win this match and win the belt, because
I would like that.
you're not saying that he is a better wrestler than Bret by him escaping the cage first. That doesn't put any sort of decisive end point on it. And if anything, Owens already beat Bret one-on-one at the WrestleMania, so and that was more in a classic wrestling match. You've shown he is supposed to be a match for Bret. I think they could have had Owen win, put the belt on him, could have dropped it back to Bret. That's have another match, because this had legs. And I was thinking it was such a good storyline. And what was it? It was maybe about 9 months if you take it from, I don't know, Survivor Series
Survivor Series
through to
yeah.
SummerSlam, which is a decent length of time. And these days that would be like 10 pay-per-views or something like that.
God.
Then it wasn't it back then, but I just feel like there was so much more they could have done with this story.
Yeah. So I'll outline what I'd thought and what I said to you. And it's all fantasy booking, and we have no idea what's going on in the background. But off the back of this, I'd love to have seen Bulldog and Bret versus Anvil and Owen at Survivor Series. Shelve the title. Doesn't matter about the title. This is they want revenge for what's happened at SummerSlam. Continue that on. At this point in time, Owen would have won that cage match, so he's your champion. We have Bret win the Rumble. Meanwhile, Owens defending his title with Neidhart helping him in a sort, he's getting out of various different, getting through contenders with the help of Neidhart or whatever. Underdog sort of story of Bret going back to the bottom of the pile. He has to win the Rumble and culminate at WrestleMania 11.
Yep. That, I think, would have just put so much better of an end point, if you need to end it there. But I think for such a good story to go out, it feels like it ended on a cliffhanger. It's like those TV shows that get cancelled after one season when they left you on a cliffhanger and you're just told, nah, there's not going to be any more. I didn't feel like it gave you proper closure on the storyline. I don't know how long. Like, the Bret reforming the Hart Foundation must still be a long way away here when he, brings Owen, Bulldog, Anvil, and Pillman eventually in with him. That must still be quite a while away from happening, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
So yeah, I just felt you could have still done that, because I loved that angle as well. I thought that they, as a group, worked really well as this, heroes in Canada, heels elsewhere group. But there's absolutely no reason you couldn't have done that down the line anyway. I mean, they've just beat the shit out of Bret in a cage. So yeah.
I feel like you've done a disservice to Owen by it's that thing of not letting him stand on his own as a main eventer.
Yeah.
He's there because of Bret.
Yeah.
Which kind of like that's kind of exactly what he's saying.
That's his point.
Aye. So I think building on, have him win that cage match and building, and I have him beat some legit main eventers, even if it is with the help of Neidhart, he's still champion and going through contenders, which in Bret winning the Rumble, it builds them both right back up to the top of the tree to have them going off against each other for a title. But
yeah, that would have been cool.
Hey-ho.
Yeah.
It was. What do you think Meltzer gave that cage match?
I don't know if he would have loved it. I don't know. Maybe he did. Okay, I'll guess. I'll guess a 4.
5.
Did he? Okay.
Mm.
Okay. Was it given the fact it's a gimmick match? I wasn't sure what his feeling for gimmick matches is, but okay, that's good.
Interesting, eh? Surprised. I was, especially, like given the limitations placed on them, it's quite impressive. Really good match. No reason why it shouldn't have been the main event. Now, obviously, all the things put aside, as far as Owen Hart's concerned, there's so much tragedy associated with his life, but I really feel for him at this point to know that he's kind of slipped down and, like 4 years later, we're watching this European Championship, it's Intercontinental, and I feel like he should be like a legit main event, or Shawn Michaels, v Shawn Michaels versus whoever.
Oh yeah, I'm sure that would have been good. That would have worked as a program. I always wondered if they missed the boat in Owen v Shawn when Bret left after the screw job. They gave Owen a new contract. He signed it. He stayed. That was there, and they just never ran with it.
It's weird, eh?
Yeah.
And if I can't remember if we talked about it on that Dark Side of the Ring. I think they did that. Like Owen didn't love the wrestling business the same way that Bret did, and some of the other Hearts did. He loved his family more, and he wanted to get paid and use his money, and he was going to get out early and all that sort of stuff. Which again, just is completely tragic given what's happened to him. But this was amazing. I wish we'd got more matches of them, because between this and WrestleMania 10, they're brilliant, absolute class.
Agreed.
So, for that point of view, it's a good choice, Adam.
It got there in the end. It just scrambled over the line.
There you go. So, is that us for SummerSlam? Do you think? Is there anything else you want to?
No, I think just basically, I put in my notes. The cage match for me saved the whole thing. I enjoyed the Women's World Championship match far more than I expected to. I enjoy the spectacle of seeing the head shrinkers and Bam Bam. The rest of it kind of, a bit meh, but that match, just kind of made my night as I'm watching it. It made the whole thing worthwhile.
Yeah, totally agree. If you've never seen it, stick it on. It's well worth the watch. Despite us talking you through every single detail of it and spoiling everything about it. But, so we'll talk about what I'm picking for us next.
Go for it.
So we've completely dinged the Oracle. That lasted a couple of weeks. That's good fun. And to be fair, we've got some good pay-per-views out of it, but here we are.
Yep.
What I'd hoped to do was one of two things. I was either thinking we do this upcoming Survivor Series that is going to have a couple of War Games matches on it, which I thought might be quite interesting. I thought it'd be interesting to hear some of your views on current roster and Triple H bookings and things like that. So I quite fancied that. I also quite fancied going back and watching the first ever War Games match. Great American Bash 87, but unfortunately that is not available to watch. It wasn't a pay-per-view, and more it was like a tour. So there's highlights and stuff like that, but there's no actual pay-per-view. So that scuppers that. I feel like doing the Survivor Series might be a bit of a stretch because it's the Sunday night and then we record a Tuesday, so we would maybe struggle with that. So I've decided Survivor Series, Bloodline. Let's take it back to the original Tribal Chief and watch The Rock's debut at Survivor Series 1996 in Madison Square Garden. I do not remember ever watching this pay-per-view at all. What about you?
So when you mentioned this as an idea to me, I looked up the card and it didn't I didn't look at it and think, oh, I've seen this. What I know is with the fact that I went a little bit crazy with the network when I first got it. I do know that I have seen it at
Right.
some point. I
Okay.
can't remember if I was watching wrestling at that point, 1996. Strikes me as maybe a time that I wasn't, and then I came back to it a bit more as it went into full on into Attitude Era.
Okay. Right.
So when I looked at it, I thought I recognise the main event, and I recognise the Undertaker Mankind match as well.
Right. Okay.
For the reason that is one of the kind of stipulations of the.
Oh, right. Okay. Oh, right. Okay. Aye. Yes, I think I know what you mean. Okay, I'll jump through the card then. The only thing I know for this is Die Rocky Die. And you know, like we've all seen the footage of Rock coming out with all the blue stuff on and the whole blue chipper babyface and all that sort of stuff. Do they shout Die Rocky Die during this, or is it after that
I think that starts after this. So I think there's a view that he's maybe been handed an awful lot, and resentment starts pretty quick.
Shoving him down our throats. So, you know, Vince has never really learned his lesson, did he? This is 26 years ago.
The funny thing is, he gets the right guys. It just doesn't maybe package them initially the way that people want, but maybe you have to go through this to then come out the other side in the way that certainly a couple of prominent ones have over the years.
I'll run through this card. There's some really interesting names here, and I really want to know who one of them is. So, first match, free-for-all Survivor Series. So we get some classic Survivor Series matches. Aldo Montoya, Bart Gunn, Bob Holly, and Jesse James.
Okay.
Aldo Montoya is Al Snow or Just Incredible? One of the two.
Just going to look it up because I wasn't sure.
Avatar.
Just Incredible.
Okay. Yeah. Versus Billy Gunn, Justin Bradshaw, Salvatore Sincere, and the Sultan. That is Rikishi. I have no idea who Salvatore Sincere is. Do you?
Oh, right. Okay. Is that the same? Wait a minute. Can't
be. The Patriot.
Yeah, but is it that the Patriot? Because, to be honest, if you look on Wikipedia, this guy's career doesn't seem to have gone very long, and I kind of thought that the Patriots did the one I'm thinking of.
Okay. I suppose we'll find out. It's interesting to see Bart Gunn and Billy Gunn on different sides of the team. They must have been smoking guns at this point. The next match is a similar Doug Furness, Philip Lafon, and the Goodwins versus Owen Hart, the British Bulldog, and the New Rockers, Leif Cassidy and Marty Jannetty.
There's your Al Snow.
Leif Cassidy is Al Snow. Avatar. Wow. With Clarence Mason.
Yeah. Who was Clarence Mason again?
No idea.
The name rings a bell.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Mankind versus Undertaker, and I want to say there's a pallbearer hanging above the ring. Is that right?
Pallbearer suspended above the ring in a shark cage.
Sorry, that was a poor choice of words. Hopefully, he doesn't do a China and start like climbing out it and all that, hanging upside down and everything. So pallbearer must have been with Mankind at some point. Is that?
Yeah, he was. He was with Mankind opposing the Undertaker for periods of time.
Right. Another 8-man tag, Jake Roberts, Mark Mero, Rocky Maivia, and the Stalker.
Yes, who was the Stalker again?
Barry Windham, apparently.
That's it, yeah. And I think is considered a pretty terrible gimmick to have given somebody.
Shocking. Yeah. Versus Crush. He must be a babyface as well.
Yeah.
That's so odd. Crush, Goldust, Hunter Hearst Helmsley, and Jerry Lawler.
These are some weird teams.
They are. We've got a number one contendership match for the World Heavyweight title, Bret Hart versus Stone Cold Steve Austin, or Steve Austin, it says. I don't know if he's Stone Cold at that point. Another 8-man tag, Diesel, Farouk, Razor, and Vader versus Flash, Funk, Jimmy Snuka, Savio Vega, and Yokozuna. What a match that sounds.
Awesome.
Yes. Vader and Yokozuna.
Oh, I like it.
And Michaels versus Psycho Sid for the world title.
Yes.
With Jose Lothario in his corner. Tremendous.
Yeah, I think some of this will be good. It's really hard to judge about the multi-person tag matches because sometimes they're not so good. But yeah,
I think for the novelty of seeing all these sort of different characters could be quite fun.
And I wonder if there'll be any attempt to explain the teams away as we're watching the show, just given how totally random some of the pairings seem to be.
Yeah. Doug Furness, Philip Lafon.
Yeah.
Was Rene Rougeau.
Yeah.
The Blue Blazer Jr.
So Furness and Lafon came in as a tag team.
All right, okay.
I think I'm sure I always hear that they were like from Oklahoma, so they were JR's favorite ever team or something.
Oh God, of course. Oh, Zebekiah, that's with the Sultan, is Dutch Mantel. There's a lot of characters on this show.
Ah.
So there we go.
This will be interesting. Cool.
So, we'll get into that. Have you been watching any Young Rock at all? I'm sure we've spoken about it before.
Do you know, I didn't like the idea of it at first, and then I think you praised it, so I actually went back and watched it, and then so I watched seasons 1 and 2 last year or early this year, and then I noticed it had restarted. So I've watched episode 1. I don't know if that's maybe all that's been on so far.
Yeah, I think so. Maybe a couple, but I'm delighted to hear you watched. And the fact that you've managed to watch all of season 1, season 2 would suggest that you've possibly enjoyed quite a lot of it.
I did way more than I expected to. I don't know what I was expecting, but I didn't like the idea of it. But it's just, it's a lot more entertaining than I thought it would be. And I like the fact, they're showing you like the territory and his mum's involvement, his grandmother and all that. I like that. I just didn't expect it.
I think if you get past the whole, like, this is supposed to be a documentary type thing, because the guy that plays Macho Man's pretty good, but generally the people playing the characters are either nothing like them, or they're like sort of Halloween versions of them, particularly the Mankind that they had, and Undertaker and stuff like that. But it's kind of got its tongue in its cheek, I suppose. Yeah. Which helps it a lot. I really like it. The reason I was asking was I'm sure there's an episode based on this Survivor series around him making his debut and them booing him and all that.
Yeah.
I remember.
Yeah. I've got, because a lot of the time he's like speaking to the fake Vince or Pat Patterson and stuff like that. I'm sure they show that. It must have been towards the end of season 2, because I'm sure they have Vince and Pat like hearing the boos and being like, and Pat was like saying something like, they care or something like that. It's trying to spin it in a positive way. It all worked out in the end.
Indeed, and we might see him again this year. Who knows? Or next year anyway.
Yeah.
We had an interesting fantasy booking chat about that as well. If you could have Stone Cold back, so the rumoured to be talking about getting Stone Cold back for another match, and I see he posted on Instagram last night that he's doing some sort of workout in his RV. He looks in incredible shape. I'm sure he's 57 or something like that. It just looks in unbelievable shape. Who would you like to see him?
It's a tough one, because I feel like if someone had asked me before last year, I would have thought Kevin Owens was a great idea. A guy that, I'm not saying he needs the push, but you're maybe putting a spotlight on what is a very talented performer that's going to be on your TV every week and going to be around for a while. I don't like the idea so much of it being a fully established part-time guy. I don't think they need it. I don't think that, you know, the sort of tradition of, you know, put over the guy on your way out. I don't think that some of the names that I've seen mentioned as possibilities, like The Rock or John Cena, they don't need that. That's not a thing. I think as well, from a in the ring point of view, he might well be in great shape. It sounds like he is. He's still going to need to be in there with someone who can carry a lot of a match for him. Yeah, I think the name, one of the names I mentioned to you that I'd heard come up, which was Sami Zayn, was interesting to me. Obviously, he's on a what feels like a bit of a trajectory just now. He's in the biggest storyline. He is a part of the biggest storyline. I don't know if there's a way of interweaving all that would make it make sense, but I'd like it to be someone who kind of that could maybe take them to a slightly, you know, put them in a main event picture, being in a match with Austin.
Yeah.
What about you?
Like what they could have potentially done with ending the streak type thing.
Yeah, done by a guy that didn't really need it. Yeah.
See, that's the thing. I could see them doing Brock versus Stone Cold.
Yeah.
So King of the Ring, whole storyline, the walking out storyline, it kind of writes itself. It's just that it's exactly. I feel the same as you. I'd like it to be. If Austin's got to come back and do another, if he's got to do a job, especially, like, I don't think for WrestleMania, it's nice that, you know, finish off the night with him drinking beers and stunnering people, but I would like to see him maybe just give a little bit and help somebody. I don't know. If Braun Breaker was a heel, that would be a maybe too big of a step, perhaps, but it would be quite a cool way to introduce yourself. By attacking Austin and establishing, you know, like really beating him down. I like the Sami Zayn idea as well.
I heard, I mentioned it to you, but it was on the Jeff Jarrett podcast. He and Conrad Thompson talking about it, and, you know, Jeff Jarrett was of the view that he didn't want it to be a part-time guy. He does want to see Austin make a comeback because I think he's only maybe like 2 years older than Jarrett or something like that. They're quite close in age. And he was saying that, yeah, you know, the shine this could put on a guy could make a career, and it's probably not a massive exaggeration to say it. If you do it right, if you pair him with the right guy, boom, that guy's main event for, you know, however long you want them to be. I would definitely say that if Vince was still in charge, that wouldn't happen. It just wouldn't be done like that. But with Triple H in charge, I think it's maybe more likely that he would put over a guy who could use that boost and really then run with it.
Yeah. It's quite left field, but I'd love to see them elevate that Damian Priest to a main event status. I feel like he looks the part and he's got a really good moveset and all that sort of stuff. He can talk as well. You know, that's a bit like Baron Corbin beating Kurt Angle sort of thing. It's just, it sounds a bit silly. But aye.
Yeah.
Be interesting. See what they do with it.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you for picking Bret and Owen in the Cage. Sorry for putting you under pressure, making you pick it. But I was drunk and the Oracle was turned heel on us. We shall ride on to 1996. Get your thinking cap on about what might be number one.
Oh, God.
1996, you've got a record to uphold now.
I'm viewing that as one and done. I mean, I might just refuse to answer in any and all future weeks.
All right. I mean, surely we're in full-on indie territory.
I would have thought so. Yeah, I'll try and think. Yeah, I'll think.
Your 1996 playlist. So. Right, buddy. We shall speak again in 2 weeks. Until then, you take it easy.
Cheers, you too.
Cheers.